Well, the recommendations are, of course, addressed to the Human Rights Council of the United Nations, and essentially the work of the Commission is fact-finding, and we have discharged that responsibility, and now it is for the international diplomatic and political communities and civil society to take the matter further and to make sure that the steps are taken to improve the human rights situation in North Korea radically. This will require a multi-pronged attack on what is really one of the gravest problems of human rights in the world today. It will require steps in the Security Council, it will require steps in civil society, and it will require lots of action on people-to-people contacts in Korea. Well, there are so many of the challenges, and we would take hours to deal with those questions. I think transitional justice is a very important issue. How you get from a society like North Korea into a community that is rights respecting and law respecting. Issues such as the rights of women, I think that is a major challenge for the international community, and certainly in the report of the Commission of Inquiry on North Korea, many of the worst abuses were abuses targeted at women. The rights of gays in societies which claim an entitlement to persecute GLBT people. That's an important challenge for the community. Essentially, the fundamental problem is how do we reconcile a world of universal values, which we proclaim, with a world in which there is a local tendency to say, well, we do it our way, and even if our way is seriously disrespecting of the human rights of the citizens. The world must say in those cases that universalism is the principle that we have learned from the 20th century and which we must learn to practice in the 21st century. What I like about the Hague Institute is its multidisciplinary approach. You know, there is a tendency for us all to go off into our silos, and lawyers to stick to their ways, and social scientists and community groups, but the Hague Institute gets it all together, gets the act together. And for example, reaching out, as was done in 2013, to the prosecutors who are working in Libya, exposing their minds, exposing their experience to the experience of prosecutors in other communities, so that they're strengthened and emboldened in the performance of their duties. And in 2014 there's going to be mid-year a joint exercise with the South African Institute of equivalent kind to bring lawyers from all parts of Africa to expose their minds to universalism and the principles of universal global justice. This is what The Hague as a whole does well, and it's what this institute does extremely well, and I honour and praise the institute for its work. My experience is basically civil society. That's where I grew up. I was a joiner. Whenever I go to law schools and talk to young lawyers today, I tell them, don't just think about number one. Be a joiner, get engaged. When I was young in Australia, we disrespected our Aboriginal people, and I, as a young lawyer, defended Aboriginal people who challenged the effective apartheid we had in our own country, and also the White Australia policy and the refusal to allow people to come, even with their spouses, to Australia because of our view of racial purity. These are immature things, and you've got to challenge them. And my life, first as a civil society person, as a student troublemaker when I was a young person, and then as a practicing lawyer, and ultimately as an extremely distinguished and ancient judge, has been to try to push the envelope in the direction of universal human rights. Now, what can you do? I think young people can embrace the experience of older people, but can also teach lessons, for example, in the social networks. I think that's an area where the Commission of Inquiry on North Korea might have been improved, reaching out through the social networks to the younger generation, getting into the minds of young people in China. It's partly succeeded, but we could have done that better, and I think that's where the younger generation and this Hague Institute can help people of my vintage to know that there are new ways, there are new techniques, and there is a new marvellous tool of information and communication that can be tapped in the cause of universal human rights.